I'll be talking about the reverse edition of Titans of Corruption and Other Poem by Carl Robertson. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and to the review of Titans of Corruption by Carl Robertson. I have once reviewed this book in time past, I think a month ago. That was a first edition, and today I'll be talking about the reverse edition of this particular book. Much like the first edition, this book also contains information that are quite very critical. It expounds on matters affecting humanity. It expounds on matters affecting race. It expounds on different things that I find quite interesting, and it's something that we can see very rampant and predominant in our current world today. It expounds on the issue affecting the world politics. It expounds on racial injustice. It expounds on discrimination, on indignation, on all the things that made humanity suffers. It expounds on the issue that affect our ecosystem today. It expounds on the human heart. It touches vastly on the theme of the human person. And I love Carl Robertson's choice of words. I love the lyrics, I love the stanzas and the line. They all truly make for an interesting discussion. You know, we live in a kind of world whereby the quest for human dignity is nothing to write home about. We live in a world whereby people are being judged based on the color of their skin. We live in a world whereby you can even see police brutality almost everywhere. And we live in a world whereby the quest for human dignity is nothing to write home about. We live in a world whereby there is so much hatred, whereby there is no love, whereby human beings torment one another unnecessarily, whereby the people in high position are trying their best in order to make everybody keep quiet towards their right. We live in a kind of world whereby human right is nothing to write home about. We live in a kind of world whereby the quest for rightness is something that is not much, in existence. We live in a kind of world whereby the innocent are being jailed and the people that are even guilty of an offense are being set free. We live in a kind of a demonized world, in a confused world, a world that is currently in a state of chaos. And Carl Robertson, writing, in my own perception, a sort of poem, in my own opinion, came in as an observer. It came in to look at the critical things that are affecting the human person. You know, from a sort of poem, from his kind of poem, you can easily denote that he's very vast. I consider him as an observer, as someone who has a keen eye, who has an acute idea of observing his environment and writing out something from it, and writing out something that affects the black race. Not only the black race, but also some poor white people in some certain community. And following on from this, my short description, I'd love to say that I love a particular poem here titled A Child's Reasoning, which particularly interests me most in the book, because here the author is trying to make a kind of a comparison. He's trying to make a kind of disparities that exists between the heart of children and the heart of adults. You know, all these issues that we see in our world today, the problem, the killing, the devastation, the war, the everything you ever imagine that is affecting and that is causing trouble in our planet and that is causing the world to be a difficult place for humans to live in, are the action of our hands. It's the work of one man to another. It's a kind of annihilation that one man expects towards another. And apart from this fact, I've always think in my heart, I've always imagined that if we could all live without sin, if we could all live without racism, if we could all live without war, if we could live peaceably with one another, then I think the world is going to be a great place to live in. Then I think the world is going to be a fantastic place to live in. But the problem, the issue, the indiscrimination, the racial injustice, the degradation, the reduction to nothing, the quality of the human person that we experience in our current world today are the action of one man to another, are the wicked act of one man towards another. And that's what Carl Robertson put together in this book, Theatres of Corruption, and he was able to point out the issue that affects the human psychology, the issue that affects the human brain, why human being would see the truth and go for falsity, why human being would recognize and have the sense of conscience but yet go ahead to do things that are quite unjust. And I would also love to say that some parts of the book are somewhat biblical in nature, while others expound on religion, on politics, on education, on humanity, and the issue that is affecting mankind. Before I proceed in my short video book recommendation, I'd love to read to you the introduction page of this book. Theatres of corruption denote that no oppressor will ever allow those who he owns fully oppressed to ever become equal to himself. And his law of equality will always be full of deception against the poor, no matter their color. This is especially for most black, brown, and poor white communities in the United States, whose trust for redemption and hope are still highly within their religious faith. The fortunate, rich, and white elite appears to be seeking the reward of a civil war involving chauvinistic principles based against a people who are considered by some as destroyers of culture, a parasite within the nation, and a menace to their elite economic ideas. No differently than the thought of Adolf Hitler and the extermination of millions who were also considered born and raised German citizens. That is what Theatres of Corruption is trying to point out. All Americans, no matter their color, are caught up within the bigotries of the established wealthy, just as we are continually seeing throughout our nation today. It is a wake-up call that each American citizen has a duty to make this nation a better and more equitable place to live for all our people and children, which then create a significant, better future for all United States citizens as a whole. Within this revised edition of Theatres of Corruption and other poems, Robertson has added 3 additional poems to this book and uses unique metaphoric articulations and expression to convey to his readers what he perceives as the ups and downs of American society when it comes to economic, political, and educational status of his black culture. Robertson considers that his poem, as with any other logical interpretation, will inspire and enlighten readers from all walks of life, background, religion, ages, and cultures. The people of America must fully understand that unless the United States government makes some serious and drastic changes for the betterment of all its citizens, America will wake up one day to find out, as quoted from Abraham Lincoln, a house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. What was stated by President Lincoln years ago holds the gist of that truth today, except that within today's world, it is economic slavery which is causing this nation's divide. And that's something that I find quite exceptional about Carl Robertson's write-up. Those are the kind of topic, those are the kind of subject and themes that you would find if you eventually pick up this book. Honestly, I love this book so much, and I love to say that this particular writing or style or the message that the author seek to communicate in this book does not only applies to the American citizen alone. It is something that is applicable in every part of the world, because the world is sadly turning to a critical place to live in. We hear about bad news, about the killing, and how we've all trouble one another and cause problem for ourselves. That's one thing I love to say about this book, is that it can be read by anybody of all culture, anybody of any color, anybody from any nationality. And I'd love to say that I so much love this book. I love it because it speaks to me in volume. I love it because it particularly expound on the matter that affects the human condition today. I love it because it is absolutely, introspective. It is absolutely didactic. It is absolutely moralizing. It communicates ethics. It communicates values. It communicates rightness. And it sort of teaches us and enlightens us to look at the ugly and delicate aspects of our whole life and start to make our nation a better place, starting from ourselves. Because when we even talk about rightness, when we talk about ethical right, when we talk about the absence of corruption, or if we deserve the absence of corruption, and we deserve to live in a world that is free of vices, that is free of indignation, that is free of degradation, that is free of racism, that is free of wickedness and unnecessary hatred being expressed from one person to another, then it has to start from us. Change begins from our heart. Change begins from our soul. That aside, I love to say that this book, some part of this book, the reverse edition, seek to expound on the issue that affect the black community and some poor white elites. I love to say that this book is absolutely amazing to me. And I don't want to spoil the book. I don't want to talk about everything in entirety. I just want to give a short video book recommendation for you to have an idea of what this book is actually all about. But if you're a lover of poetry that has to do with justice, if you're a lover of book that expound on political issue, if you're a lover of history, if you're a lover of rightness, if you're a lover of ethical living, then I'm pretty sure you're gonna find absolute joy and admiration in this book. Towards the ending part of this review, I'm going to attach a recitation of the poem titled Reflection towards the ending part of this book. But before I move on, I'd love to read to you some certain poems that I find quite interesting to me. And I'll be reading a poem titled A Child's Reasoning, that's from page 14. Glance around, observe those young. It is very little that we are of age need to understand. Youth play together. Prejudice and distinction does not exist. This is what makes the world so grand. If added, only add a child's reasoning, would there be the overwhelming problem our offspring must face, with society being dismantled and cultural values being displaced? Juveniles know only of good times. Their qualities are usually so kind. Can anyone fathom what goes through a child's mind? With their need to explore, having questions galore, fascinated with the unknown and imitating what is grown. Although there are hypocrisies and confusions, children look far beyond, leaving those things behind, surveying the wonders of nature, imagining new adventure, tranquility they can find. A child's wisdom consists of love, innocence, and virtue. Charity is in their heart. Having the spirit of godliness, who's to doubt a child's reasoning, a seed compared to their more matured counterpart. And this poem, in my perception, is a challenge to adulthood. This poem in my own opinion, is a challenge to we of age, to the youth, to the adults, that we should learn from children, that we should have a heart like that of a child, should have conscience like that of a child. In a contemporary world, human being acts with no sense of empathy, with no sense of remorse, with no sense of conscience. And sometimes, looking at the issue that is happening in different parts of the world today, sometimes I'd be, can you imagine? How can someone react this way? I wouldn't love to move very deep or started mentioning the airplanes in our society today, but I'm very sure that you as a viewer might have got frustrated with some critical things that is happening in our society today. And I'm pretty sure that you might have sometimes questioned the notion of the human mind. How someone will enact evil with no sense of empathy. How someone would put a gun and kill his fellow human being with no sense of remorse. How someone would be able to backbite and kill someone just because of a particular idea that doesn't go in line with them. Honestly, it's as if we're living in jungle. Honestly, it's as if the world is turning to something else. And all of this feature coming into the political aspect, into the economic aspect, into the educational aspect, into the humanity aspect is what Carl Robertson had put together and expound in this fantastic poetry book that I have my 5-star review, and that is gonna be the first book that I've ever reviewed twice on P English literature. I so much love it, and my love for this book cannot be explained. Like, I don't have an adjective to qualify how so much I love this author's writing, how so much the level of reality that the author have seek to communicate in this short poetry book. And this is not only particular to humanity alone, it's everywhere in the media. Whenever you say something that is against a particular elite, or you say something right, the media has been designed in a way that they will try their possible best to bring it down. Like, once you have something important to communicate to the world, once you have a very cogent message to pass on, a critical word to let people know about it, the media has been designed in a way whereby they don't promote such kind of words, they don't promote such kind of truthiness. They hate reality and elevate falsity, and it's just so chaotic and it's so heart-wrenching. I'd also love to say that most of the poems here are embedded in certain reality. They are wise, they are intellectual, they are enlightening, they are inspiring, they are motivating, they are challenging, and they are able to cause you to think and keep thinking long after you've read it. And this is a quality of poetry that I particularly love. Even as a poet, I love words that doesn't just expound on mere ideas. I love words that are quite critical in nature. I love words that are harsh. I love words that are able to challenge the perception of the human mind and bring to table the issue that affect our world today. If you're a lover of justice, if you're a lover of truth, if you're a lover of poetry, if you're a lover of political book, if you're a lover of reality, if you're a lover of humanity, or if you're a lover of literature at large, I'm pretty sure you're gonna find absolute joy and pleasure reading through this revised edition of Carl Robertson's Teachers of Corruption. I don't want to talk about everything in entirety. I just want to give a short video book recommendation for you to have an idea of what the author is trying to communicate in this fantastic poetry book. I'm also going to leave a recitation to a particular poem titled Reflection in the book. So, if I'd love to get a copy of this book, I left a link in the description part of this review for you to get a copy directly on Amazon. And if you watch this video to this point and you're yet to click on the subscribe button, I want to urge you to please click on the subscribe button over there. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you can get notified anytime I release new videos. Thank you very much for watching my short video book review of Theatres of Corruption and other poems. You might also love to watch the first review of the first edition of this particular same book that I made some times ago. Over here, just click on the link over there and watch it. And also, I'd love you to listen to the poem titled Reflection that I'm going to attach afterward. Thank you very much for watching. See you in my next video. Goodbye.
Reflection. Down in the depths of my head there bears a heavy weight, placed to keep me from looking up too high or speaking out too strong. What I have learned is that although I am loyal to my society and battle for its cause, I continue to not belong. For there's a reflection within my mind which resembles a cast iron chain. It is to bind my understanding so that each stride I take is the least I gain. No matter my education, there are those who insist that I do not have enough, and my culture full of folks looked upon with inferiority. Being ensnared with deceit, I am expected to always humble myself, causing no anxiety or disregard for another's fallacious supremacy. Although a few say I have a small demented mind that's full of illusion, my eyes clearly picture an unleveled foundation. However, please understand, my birth is of this land, and I have learned to honor my fork-tongued nation. For there's a clash for equality, a perpetual struggle for justice within my strangled heart. Liberty surrounds me. I should know this. It is composed by my most righteous counterparts. This grieved heart of mine tells me that there's a veil between two liberties. One is firm, the other is hollow. No matter the condition, even if unethical or harmful, my only alternatives are to quietly stand or reluctantly follow. I am supposed to feel prosperous, secure, and happy within this great united land of the free. And as expected of all my dark-skinned people, I am also to ignore what I see as a living reality. For there's a magnetic pulling within my soul. It is pulling me in the wrong directions. I am pulled to the right, the left, and backwards, but no pull forward. And once again, I see that weighted reflection. My guidance has been provided. I am not supposed to have the capability to discern the hindrances placed directly before me. Yet what I do understand is that the filthy tall will face a nasty fall and will be completely swallowed by their own cruel hypocrisy.